I went through my husband's phone and now I'm divorcing him, so let's get into it.
Looked into her husband's phone and she decided that, you know what, we're getting a divorce. We are getting a divorce. She saw some things in the phone and made her to realize that, you know what, we are done. They've been married for 10 years. 10 good years. It is an interesting story time, you guys. Very interesting that you have to stay tuned to the end, right? So they've been married for 10 years, but they had a little issue 2 months ago, and they were staying in separate bedrooms in the same house. All of a sudden, she had that gut feeling to check his phone that something was off. And yeah, something was really off. You guys, sit down, relax, and let's watch story time together. And I'll see you guys at the end of the story time.
I went through my husband's phone and now I'm divorcing him, so let's get into it. So first I want to preface this by saying that as a wife, if I ever want to look through my husband's phone, I have the full right to do that. And if he wants to look through my phone, he knows my passcode, like he can look through my phone whenever he wants to. But as a wife, if I'm ever feeling insecure or weird, like there are times in our relationship where we're not doing the best, we're really distant, and I feel like I need to do that to gain some clarity and to feel better, I feel like I should be able to do that. So my husband and I have been having a lot of issues for the last few months. We've been super distant, sleeping in separate rooms. We're not having sex, like nothing at all. We're pretty much like roommates. And you know, as a woman, to my women, that gut feeling that you get, our intuition that is so incredibly strong and annoyingly always correct. So I had that the other night. And I recognized it and I went to him and I said, hey, I am feeling a certain way. I'm feeling kind of insecure. I'm having like a bad feeling in my belly and I would like to look through your phone. And he said, okay, you can look through my phone. I said, great. Can you go get it for me? And it was dead and he had to go and get it from his work bag or something and charge it. And all of a sudden he got really, really quiet after he said, yes, I can go through your phone. So after about 5 minutes of silence, I finally ask him again, can you go get your phone? I'm going to put it on the charger and look at it. And he goes, I don't think you should look at my phone. Okay. So he knows that I'm going to find something in there that's upsetting because he said, I don't think it's a good idea. We already haven't been in a good place and you're not going to be happy with what you find. Now I have to see it. Okay. Now I absolutely have to see it. So I demand it at this point, and it takes a long time for him to turn it over, but eventually he does. And I go upstairs to the bedroom. I put it on the charger. I lock the door and I start going through it. So I may not go over everything in detail because it's redundant at this point. It doesn't really matter, but he's going out to the bars with his friends, which I didn't have any problem with him doing, but he's giving out his phone number and telling girls that he's single. And it's interesting, like my husband has like a tattoo of like our initials on his ring finger. So like, even when he's not wearing his wedding ring, like it's very, I mean, if you're paying attention, it's pretty obvious that he's a married man. I digress. He's texting women that he's single. He went over to a coworker's house. She doesn't know that he's married. Like she's single. He went over to her house and did God knows what. So after finding all of that, one thing that I want to preface this by saying is that like women, if you're still around, if you are looking through your man's phone, be ready to leave him. You must be ready to leave your man if you're going through his phone, because otherwise, what's the point of even doing it? Just to hurt your feelings? No, if you find something with that gut feeling that you had that is enough to leave that man, you must do it. And because I love myself and respect myself, I'm going to choose not to stay with somebody, even though we've had a really great relationship. He makes me very happy most of the time. I'm going to choose not to stay with someone who treats me that way and who goes off and disrespects me like that after 10 years. So this is going to be very interesting. I've never been married before and I've never divorced anyone, so I have no idea how to divorce someone. So this will be very interesting, learning the process of separating things. But honestly, like, I know that sometimes it's going to be hard, but like this is for the best. And you know what? That's just how I feel today. And tomorrow I might be a total damn wreck. But if you stay this long, thanks. And stay tuned to watch me become shattered and a mess and then happy and then laughing. Like, I have no idea how this is going to go. So wish me luck. I went through my husband's phone and now I'm divorcing him. And this is part 2 of how he reacted when I came downstairs with his phone. First of all, like I want to say the commitment from people for this side of the story, I just find really interesting. Like the fact that people care so much about my story, I just find like really interesting. Like I didn't really think anyone would care about this. So here we go. I would not consider myself a very calm person. When I get angry, calm is not the way that I tend to deal with things. But in this situation, for some reason, I felt very, very calm when I went downstairs to confront him about his phone. I gave him his phone very peacefully and I said, "Thank you so much." And he said, "So how mad are you right now?" I stayed very calm the whole time. I looked right at him and I said, "You know what? Not as mad as you might think." And then we kind of started to go into some things. One thing that I did not mention in my first video, because it's kind of personal, but I don't really care about putting him on blast at this point because he embarrassed me, is that my husband has been holding out on Smexy time from me for many, many months. And that's another thing that I want to address, because some people in the comments assumed, oh, well, if your roommates living in separate rooms, if you were not having Smexy time with him, that no wonder he cheated. First of all, ew. Second of all, I was always open for business. Every single day, all the time, I'm always open for business. He was saying that he didn't want to because he's been having hormone issues lately. So we have not been doing that. And when I went through his phone, I found that he was watching porn every single day. So from my experience, he has always done this thing where when he gets in trouble, he doesn't want to feel like he's in trouble like a little kid. So he turns into this very hurtful person, which is another reason why I'm leaving him. So when I confronted him about the corn, he laughed in my face and he said, "Oh yeah, I love corn. That's probably never going to stop." And I said, "But I have been asking you for Smexy time." And he goes, "Yeah, well, we haven't been talking. We haven't been in a good place, but I love corn." And then another jab that he gave me, I think just, again, to hurt my feelings and try to make himself feel bigger and better than me at that point, was when I brought up that, hey, I know that we've been in a bad place, but we're still married. His excuse was, "Well, listen, you haven't been talking to me. We haven't been in a good place. What do you expect? When I don't get what I need from you, I go to other women for validation." And I said, "Man, you must be really insecure if when we're not in a great place, you have to seek out validation from other women. And I feel bad for you." So again, he kind of smiled and said, "Yeah, well, you weren't talking to me and I love getting attention from other women when you don't give me what I need. So that's probably never going to end. I'm probably going to do that for forever." And listen, ladies, as I say all of this stuff out loud, I hope that you ladies get just as irritated for me as I am for myself to be treated that way by somebody that I was married to for 10 years. Nobody deserves that. It's not just me, but nobody deserves to be looked at and said, "Yeah, I know I did these things. I'm probably going to continue to do them though." So at that point, I knew it was over. He made it very clear that he didn't want to repair that at all. He didn't seem remorseful at all. So I took a deep breath, gave him a big smile, and I said, "Okay, well, let's get working on filing. I don't really know the process to that, so I need to do a little bit of research, but I'd like to get filed by next month and get all of this stuff sorted out. At this point, you are now single. You want to act like you're single and pretend that you're single. You are now single. You may see, talk to, and do whatever you want, and I am going to do the same, and let's file for divorce next month." And he said, "Okay." But trust me when I say this story is not over. Now, you see, my mother-in-law was due to be in town 12 hours after this discovery. So when he asked me, he said, "Taylor, can you just be chill while my mom's in town? She doesn't need to know anything that's going on." I said, "Oh no. No. I'm going to tell your mother everything." And that story, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go through tomorrow. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to set the scene. I just found out that my husband has been unfaithful to me, and his mother was due to come into town to visit him for his birthday 12 hours after I found out. Now, he asked me to be chill during the time that his mother was around and not say anything, and I said, "Oh no, I will be telling your mother absolutely everything." Here's how it went. So honestly, I thought when I gave him a heads up that I would be telling his mother everything, that he would try to beat me to the punch. He's got a long drive home from the airport to our house. So knowing that I was going to tell his mom, I kind of just assumed that he would tell her on the trip home. Well, that didn't happen. So her and I had been planning this nice dinner that we were going to celebrate his birthday, and we were all going to go, and her and I were planning it on where we were going to go. It was going to be my soon-to-be ex-husband, myself, my son, and her, and we were going to go out to dinner. So she finally gets into the house, and this dinner is supposed to happen, right? And I tell her, I say, "Hey, I'm going to send you and him to celebrate the birthday on your own." And she goes, "Why? What do you mean?" She was shocked, right? And I just looked over at him, and I said, "Oh, you didn't tell her, did you?" She looks at him. He looks at me. I look at her. She looks at me. What's going on? She makes a connection. Something's not right. And I say, Okay, well, we should probably talk. And he goes, I don't really think now is the time. Like, this is not a great time. And I said, okay, we can talk later. And then for the whole rest of the weekend, I hung out with my son, my happy place, the entire weekend, and I let them go off and do what they were going to do and have mother-son time. Now, backwards a little bit. When I first found out about my husband's infidelity, the first person I called was my sister-in-law because she's like my best friend and I tell her everything. So I called her. She's pissed for me, okay? I was a little nervous to tell his family because I didn't want to feel like they would pressure me to stay and make it work with him. Well, they didn't do that. She very much had my back and she said, absolutely not. Get the heck out of there. He doesn't deserve you. And you should tell my mother everything and you should tell her when he's around and embarrass him. And I'm like, that sounds good. I'm gonna do that. I had one opportunity to talk to this woman and it was really just because she was busy with him all weekend and I was working all weekend and with my son. So I had one opportunity the morning that she was going to leave. We sat in the kitchen and grabbed a cup of coffee and I looked at her and I said, okay, are you ready to hear what's going on? And she kind of paused and she goes, yep. So I unload. I tell her everything. I leave nothing behind, no details. Even about the corn, I tell her everything. And she just sits there and listens. And let me just say, like, this woman is so kind. She's so kind and so sweet. She would never hurt a fly. So it was hard to tell her because I know that she loves her son and she worries about him. And I think, like, ultimately, the way that I felt in this conversation was that she was worried for her son based on how he was acting. Did I feel like I had her support? No. Honestly, if I'm being frank, I don't really feel like she was thinking about what I had gone through. I think she was thinking about her son, which is fine. Like that's your son. I get it. But she kind of said something really interesting to me that I kind of like, I don't know, like didn't really like. Now let's take a step back and talk about my son really quick. I have an 11-year-old son. He is not the son of my soon-to-be ex-husband. I have a baby daddy. We were never married, but my soon-to-be ex-husband and I met when my son was a year old. He has been around for my son's entire life. He has seen first words, first steps, all of the things, but unfortunately never showed up as a stepdad. He told me a little bit ago that he didn't love my son. He just never was what my son needed. And so while I've been married and with this man for 10 years, I have been a single mom. My soon-to-be ex-husband does not help me with parenting at all. Like I have parented that child by myself, and he's my son. So that is my responsibility. But my son comes above everything. My son comes before my soon-to-be ex-husband. He has always been at the forefront and the whole priority of my entire life. I take parenting him very seriously, and my soon-to-be ex-husband does not like that my son comes before him. Listen, I know this video is getting really long. I'm almost there. So the way that I felt when I told my mother-in-law about all of this is that I almost felt a little bit of like she was putting some blame on me for the reason that we've been in such a bad place. I was talking to her about the issues that my soon-to-be ex-husband was having with my son, that he told me that he didn't love him and that he resents him. And that's just for a whole nother story. Sir, you are an adult. I am not responsible for raising you anymore. That actually was my mother-in-law's job. But I take being a mother very seriously. And my son is my priority, number one, always. And that will never change. So when she came in and made me feel like she was questioning of whether or not I should be putting my 11-year-old son over her 33-year-old son, it just didn't feel great to me. And that's what happened. Do I need to probably have a conversation with her about how that made me feel? Yeah, but ultimately, it is what it is. We are divorcing, we are separating, and my son is still going to be at the forefront, number one of my life, everywhere, all the time, every single day, and that's how I'm choosing to parent him. My husband told me that he doesn't love his stepson and that most of the time he doesn't even like him, and what do you know? Now we're getting divorced. Let's talk about parenting for one moment. My soon-to-be ex-husband and I have been together for over 10 years, and my son is 11 years old. So it's not that just a couple of years that my soon-to-be ex-husband has been around. He has seen first steps, first words, first day of kindergarten, first day of every single grade. He's seen big milestones. He's watched sporting games. He has watched this kid grow up. And my son is a really good kid. And I know that a lot of mothers say that, but I really mean it. My son has manners, please and thank you. He's very sweet. He never argues with me. He is so kind, so intelligent, and so emotionally mature. I will address people in the comments very briefly. I have some people that are saying, why would you marry someone when you knew they didn't love their kid? Oh my God, we didn't start there. Oh my gosh, we did not start there. I did not marry my husband knowing that he didn't love my son. This is a very recent issue. This is a conversation that we had on December 1st, our 10-year anniversary, when he told me that he really doesn't like my son and that he resents him for the fact that I put him first and that my son is priority to me above anything else. And you know what? That's okay, because that's never going to change. So on December 1st, when we had that conversation, that's when I knew I was done. Okay, that's when I knew I was finished. I'm like, I'm so gone. Like, you don't love this child that you have raised kind of for 10 years, this kid that you've seen grow up, this kid that is a direct reflection of me, because I have poured everything in my life into raising him properly. You're going to tell me that you don't love him and that you want me to put you, a 33-year-old man, first over raising an 11-year-old boy? Absolutely not. So on our 10-year anniversary, I told him, I said, yeah, I'm done. You need help. You need to go to therapy. And he said, okay, Taylor, let's go to therapy. Like, let's try to figure this out. And I said, great. Okay. January is your month. You have to hire the therapist, book the appointment. You know my schedule with work. Just tell me when to be there and I will be there. But this is your time to shine. If you want to repair this, then you can do all of the things for therapy. Do you think he did any of that? Ladies, do you think he did any of that? No. Now, I realize that everyone does parenting differently. And I'm not saying that my way is the right way or the wrong way. I don't know that there really is like a hard line of right and wrong way of parenting. But my son is not my soon-to-be ex-husband's child. Now, if he were his child, that would be a different story. I would choose to put my husband first because it's a direct reflection of how a man and a wife should be, and it should be a good example. But because that's not the case, I am responsible for raising an 11-year-old boy to make sure that he turns out to be a decent human being. I'm responsible for giving him experiences. I'm responsible for taking care of him financially. I'm responsible for making sure that my child feels safe, secure, loved, and that he can come to me comfortably and talk to me about anything. That is my job. It is not my job to do that for a 33-year-old man. And contrary to popular belief, his happiness is not my responsibility. And anyone else, please listen. Ladies, gentlemen, everyone, your partner's happiness is their responsibility. The way that they feel about life and walk through life is a direct reflection of the work that they put in, what goes through their mind on a daily basis. And while you're there to support them as a partner, their happiness, general in life, is not your responsibility. My 11-year-old child is 100% my responsibility, and I'm going to take that to the grave. Like I believe that fully, entirely, wholeheartedly. So I will never put a man above my 11-year-old child. And the next person I find, not that I'm really even thinking about that at all, will understand that and will understand what I've been through, or I will not be with anyone else. Because ultimately, I feel like all I really need right now is my son. He needs me and I need him, and that's just kind of where I'm at. There were 4 red flags that led me to look through my husband's phone that led to our divorce and me being done with him. And ladies, if you feel or see any of these happening, it's your time to go do the same. So throughout the majority of my relationship with my husband, he did not have any social media. No Snapchat, no Instagram, no TikTok, nothing. All of a sudden, about a couple months ago, he downloaded all 3 apps. He opened a Snapchat. Gross, you're a 33-year-old married man. I digress. Instagram and TikTok. And by the way, do you think that he followed me on the TikTok and the Instagram platform that I have because I don't have Snapchat because like I'm an adult who's married? Do you think he followed me on any of those platforms? No. Do you think he even told me that he had Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok? No. Red flag number 2, he kept that phone on him all the time. He never left it alone. When he went to the bathroom, he had his phone. When he was sitting in bed and got up to go and do something downstairs, he had his phone with him. He never left it alone. In the majority of our relationship, there were many times, most of the time, he didn't care where his phone even was. He left it out, he left it unlocked, but suddenly over the last few months, he's been keeping that, clung to his hand, never leaving it alone. Red flag. That brings me to red flag number 3. It was the same thing with his Apple Watch. He got a brand spanking new, nice Apple Watch, the newest Apple Watch that you could get. Well, a few months later, I stopped seeing it around the house. We have a public, Apple Watch charger, one in the house that is in the kitchen on the counter. I put my Apple Watch there to charge it. I leave it overnight because I don't have anything to hide in my Apple Watch. But all of a sudden, he stopped using his Apple Watch completely. He not only let it die, but he disconnected his Apple ID from said Apple Watch and stopped using it. Why, after you just got a brand new Apple Watch, would you stop using it all of a sudden? Is there something on there that maybe you don't want me to see? Which brings me to the strongest reason, number 4, my female intuition. It's always right. It's always strong. And it's that feeling at the top of your stomach when everything's kind of twisting and turning, when you know that something is wrong. You don't want it to be wrong and you really don't want to be right, but unfortunately it always is. Which ultimately led me to go and ask him to look through his phone, which is why we are now getting divorced. So ladies, I'm going to say this to you, and I'm going to get a bunch of hate comments from the men about this. If you are married and that man can be deep inside of you, you can be deep inside his phone, and that is it and done. If you have any of those red flags, go through his phone. It may suck what you find, but just remember, when you go through your man's phone, you better be ready to leave. We're on to part 6 of my divorce story, and I'm going to talk about the timeline in which everything happened and when I decided that I was done with my husband. Because I have a lot of comments asking me, wait, are you divorcing your husband because he cheated on you, or are you divorcing your husband because he told you that he didn't love your son? The answer is both. This is the second time I'm recording this because I told this whole story and then for some reason TikTok only posted a very short clip of it. So we're going to go through it again. So in one of my earlier videos, I had said that my husband and I were having a hard time and that we were sleeping in separate rooms and we're pretty distant for some time. Now I got a lot of people in the comments saying, well, what do you expect? Like you were sleeping in separate rooms, or, oh yeah, like that's a dead giveaway sign that your marriage is over. Okay, whatever. But listen, I didn't get married with the intention of giving up after we had a little bit of a hard time. Like I really only wanted to get married one time and I took my marriage really seriously. So like when we had issues, yeah, we separated for a little bit and we had a little bit of distance, but our purpose was always to come back to each other and attempt to work on things. That's going to lead us to December 1st, our 10-year anniversary. So that was the night that we got into a really big fight and he told me that he is frustrated that I put my son above him and that he resents my son for that and doesn't love him and will never be able to love him in the way that I need him to. It was at that point that I knew I was done. I kind of put my hands up. I said, all right, well, like, I love you, but that's kind of it for me. I have to protect my child. I have to make sure that he grows up knowing that he is loved and supported. And unfortunately, that's not with you. And I don't think that you should be with someone who has a kid because you're really selfish. So that's when I told him that I wanted to get a divorce. I'm not really sure what he expected to hear from me, but it wasn't that, because he was like, oh, wait, no, let's go to therapy. I think we can fix this. I don't want to give up. Like, I want to work through things in therapy. At that point, I said to him, okay, well, if you want to go to therapy, you better do all of the things. So you need to find a therapist, you need to set an appointment, you need to tell me when the appointment is, and you need to make a solid effort for therapy. And January is going to be the month that you do that. If that doesn't happen in January, I will be filing for divorce in February. And he said, okay. Now, obviously that did not happen. And for all of the reason that I listed in my other video, I decided to go through his phone. So I was feeling like not so great, kind of insecure. And I went up to him and I said, if you really want to work on things and you really want to go to therapy, I want to see who you are and what kind of a man you are when things between us are not going well. So when we're really distant, I want to see who you are. And to see that, I need to go through your phone. That's when I find it all. The corn every day, the texting multiple young girls telling them that he's single, going over to the coworker's house. I find everything that I need to finally be like, okay, that's who you are. I'm not giving you any more chances. I'm not waiting until February. You are now single. And you know, like in hindsight, when I think back to it, he seemed almost kind of relieved. Like he wanted me to find those things because he's too much of a coward to just tell me that he wanted a divorce. That's definitely what I'm learning about this man, is that he's a full-grown man-child and a coward. That's what I've taken away from this entire situation. But if I'm being honest, I probably needed something drastic to happen, like me going through his phone and finding out that he had cheated on me, to leave this man, because I would have just gone to therapy if he would have actually taken the action to do that and tried to work it through with him when the situation is very clear. He's not good for me and my son. He doesn't love him the way that he should. And it's really sad that after 10 years of watching you watching a little boy grow up and do all the things together, that you don't love him. And I don't want to be with someone like that. So for those two reasons, we're divorcing. And I also have a ton of you guys asking about my son and how he's doing all of this. And the truth is, he doesn't know. He's young, impressionable, and he's also very sensitive. And he doesn't know that we are separating. And he doesn't know anything yet because my husband can't move out for 2 months. I have to live with him here in this house while we're separated for 2 months. And I want to create a stress-free and drama-free environment for my son. And so we have to try to be nice to each other and try to be decent with each other while we live together for these last 2 months. Now, I don't know how this next 2 months is going to look for me. It's already very hard having to look him in the eye every day and kind of like, step around each other and pretend like nothing is wrong. At least he pretends like nothing is wrong, but I inside just feel so dead inside. So we're going to see how this goes over the next 2 months, and I'll keep you guys updated.
Many things was happening in that story time. So many things. Imagine you be married to a man for 10 years, and before you guys got married, he knows that you have a child. He knows that you have a child, and he married you regardless. And it took him 10 years to come and open up to you and tell you, he doesn't like your son. No, I don't like your son. I don't think I'm a perfect father for him. What a terrible man. Since 10 years. So you've known that child over 10 years, and the 10th year you're not saying you don't like him, you cannot be a perfect father. I agree with her when she said that if you know that you're not ready to leave your partner, you know that you're not ready, don't even check their phone. Some people will say, don't check your man's phone. Oh, why did you check your man's phone? Why check your husband's phone? You're the one that caused all this for yourself and all of that. My own is, if you know you're not ready to leave, don't check the phone, because you definitely see something there. And imagine you finding out that your husband is cheating on you, or your husband is and he has like several girlfriends, or he's watching porn, or he's doing something very terrible on that phone, and you're still staying in that relationship, you're still staying in that marriage, or you go and confront him and tell him, oh, who is this girl? Who are these girls? Then later on, you're still going to stay in that marriage. You don't have self-respect. So I feel like if you're not ready to leave a marriage, you're not ready to walk away instantly, don't even check that phone, because you always see something in that phone. I don't think I've seen any woman that said they've never seen anything in their husband's phone, unless the man is very good with hiding, because they also hide chats with calculator app. I don't know, there's a lot of things that they do with their phone that you might not even find out. Some of them delete immediately they receive messages from those girls, right? So if you know that you're not ready to leave that marriage, if you know that you need evidence, unless you feel like you need evidence, you need a good, genuine reason to leave that marriage, that is when you should check their phone, because you'll definitely find one or two. You'll definitely find something and you're going to leave. So if you know you're not ready to leave, you're still in love with your husband, even though he cheats on you, cheating is not a deal breaker for you, don't check the phone, so that you're not going to hurt yourself. You're not going to feel like... Anyways, guys, what's your take on this story time? Let me know your thought about this video down in the comment section. Respectfully, as always, I got Marital, and thank you all so much for tuning in today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like and share and subscribe, and I'll see you on my next one, guys. Bye.